I've got a very special presentation for you today. I want to talk about the fundamentals of networking as literally a skill in business. And unfortunately, when I talk to a lot of new entrepreneurs or people that are just looking to expand and coming to me for advice, most of the things that I suggest to do are never quick fixes. They're never something that I'm going to give you a secret that you do today and tomorrow your business is fixed. Unfortunately, that's really never how it works. But when you focus on some very specific skills and activities and operations, and you work on getting better at those and growing them gradually over time, again, not a sexy topic, but very fundamental thing to do. If you do the right things well for a long enough period of time, they'll really come back to pay you over and over again. Quite literally can change your business. And it can be a lot quicker than you realize. Time passes a lot faster than you realize a lot of time as well. So today I want to focus on the topic of networking for your business. And a lot of people that know me kind of consider me a very good networker. I have a wide range of contacts in a number of different fields, and I can connect with people inside of my business area or in totally unrelated areas and usually find the resource that I need. Now, I'm not going to call myself a networking expert or a guru or any of those self-proclaimed things. That's nonsense. I'm just going to tell you straight up that if it wasn't for my current network and the things that I've done over the last 5 years as an entrepreneur, I can safely say that I would have a lot more struggles than I do today. And I'm quite happy with my success in business, and I attribute the networking skills that I have as one of the, I'd say, top 3 or 4 skills that has come back to pay me dividends over and over again. But again, I don't want you to think of it as something that you're just going to reap the rewards of. Networking itself it's an art as much as it is a science. So I've just put together a mind map, and I'm going to give you a copy of the mind map. There's no order to this, but I quite literally wanted to walk you through what I consider to be the main aspects of networking, the things that have worked really well for me. And just to give you a quick example, if I need something done, let's say I need to hire somebody to solve a problem, or I need a referral to work with somebody, or I'm looking for new business partners. All I need to do is send a couple of Skype messages, an email, or a Facebook message, and I can usually have more than enough opportunity in less than a day, sometimes within an hour, to solve all kinds of problems that I have in my business. And this was not the case years ago. This is something that I've worked on and built towards, and I'm sure you already know this to a degree. You already have your own network. Just want to give you some of the things that have been working well for me. So there's no order here. I'm just going to walk you through the various components. But at a high level, I'm going to go through networking mindset, where to network, the motivation that you get from networking and to stay motivated networking, the leverage that you get from it, how to stand out, some planning procedures for networking, and then a number of strategies that you will want to keep in mind as you do this. Now, again, there's no order to this, and even these high-level categories I just ran through, this is just something I put together. You might want to change the category names or rearrange one bullet point to the next. That's not my point here. My point is to share what's been working well. And hopefully you can apply some or all of this. So let me zoom in here. We're going to go through one by one. And I actually want to start up here with the networking mindset. The networking mindset is something that it's going to be individual to you. How you look at networking and how you expand your network will come down to your personality, your goals, what it is you want to do, and so on. Some people are introverted, other people are extroverted. I don't consider myself an introvert, so it's easier for me than others to meet new people and to get a conversation going. There's no awkwardness. It's just natural for me. That's something that I've worked on and partially part of my personality. So you kind of have to assess where you fit into that. But in general, you can do some certain things from a mindset perspective to do well at networking. Specifically, the main thing here is quality and not quantity. Never look at your networking as, okay, I've got to go and meet as many people as possible, collect as many business cards, or hand out as many business cards as I possibly can, so all kinds of people know who I am, and then when I need referrals or I need something, then I can just call one of these people and my problems are solved. The key here is you can only meet one person at a time, and all you can do in those single interactions is focus on getting to know people. And it's your goal to value each person equally. Every single person offers a unique skill set, a unique perspective on the world, their own unique network of people they can connect you to. And each and every person, never discount somebody that you're meeting or talking to, because you don't know who they know, and you don't know what kind of skills or advice they might be able to offer you. That's a big problem I see with a lot of people is they'll immediately pass judgment on someone because of what career they're in or what business they're in or because of a perceived lack of experience and don't think that person's worth anything. That's a very bad mindset to get into. Each and every person that you interact with has value and you should treat them as such, and they'll likely reciprocate that. So when you focus on quality and not quantity, you actually enjoy the process more. You can get to know people and hear their stories, and a lot of the time it's very invigorating. You can walk from those conversations inspired, which is something I'm going to get to in a minute as well. If you focus on giving and not getting, so when you meet somebody and you hear what they're working on, and you hear what their business goals are, where they're from, where they live, maybe why they got into business in the first place. Maybe it was to spend more time with their kids or to help out a family member. I don't know what it is. But when you listen to their story, you'll probably immediately get hit with ideas or think of people that you know that could help them. And just the fact that you can help them in some way, and you do that, makes you feel great. So if you just focus on giving and not getting, it makes the experience that much better. So that's sort of an overview of the networking mindset. Now let's go into a little bit more of actually I want to move over here to strategy, because strategy is something that, this again will be different depending on who you ask. These are the things that work well for me. Again, random order here. I've just put this stuff together kind of at the top of my head. Just move it over a little bit so you can see the whole thing. There we go. So I want to talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 general strategies. So first thing is asking genuine questions. When I go to networking events or when I network with people, even over the phone or on Skype or whatever, there's nothing more annoying than somebody who just talks about themselves and never reciprocates by asking you anything back in return. So I've made a habit of when I meet somebody new, I bombard them with questions because for one, I want to get to know them more. Two, I know that in networking, this works well. If you take serious interest in somebody and you allow them to talk and tell their story, they're immediately going to be they're going to like you more. They're going to want to connect with you. And that's a good way of setting up the beginning of a relationship. Even if it's somebody you don't end up liking in the long run, at least you give them that opportunity. You create the space for a potentially good relationship to begin. And it starts by taking interest in them. So don't be the person on the other end of this where you're just the one talking about yourself, never once thinking to ask the other person about themselves. And it's funny, I've met so many people in my day, and often you forget the people you meet, even the ones you've had great conversations with. You just meet too many people to remember them all. But the ones that stand out in my mind that weren't over the top phenomenal, the next ones that are forefront of my mind are the people that were like this, that just talked about themselves. And then we walked away from the conversation. Let's say it was at a live event. We were at a seminar together. I talked to this person for 15 minutes, learned everything about them, and realized that at the end of it, they didn't even know my name, or they only knew my name and didn't even know where I was from or what I did for a living. Nothing. And I walked away from that conversation almost feeling cheated. There's sort of this psychology that happens there. So don't be that kind of person. But then once you get good at asking questions, the next point here is to pay attention to the answers. And I used to be horribly guilty at this, partially because before I got comfortable with networking, and this takes a while, especially if you haven't done a lot of it, you may want to ask some questions, but then you might be so nervous or out of your comfort zone that you want to think of the next question, or you want to think of how should I stand? How should I look at them when they're talking? And where should I put my hands? And you get all awkward. You may forget to actually listen to what they're saying. And so you always want to kind of center yourself, go back into your mind and put yourself in that conversation and listen to what they're saying. It's just another person. You're just having a conversation. And when you pay attention to the answers, you'll naturally think of follow-up questions, or you'll think of situations that you can relate. And you can say, I've got a story just like that one. Let me share it with you. Those kind of things. And then when it comes your turn to talk, here's a big thing that I find works really, really well, and I'm sure you would agree. Share your truths. People will connect with your story. So talk about the things that are really going on for you. Maybe it's problems that you're currently having, then don't be too embarrassed to talk about them. There's strength in admitting when you need help, admitting when you need advice, when something's not working for you. You can talk about all the hard work you've done and the successes you've had, but now you're at this roadblock and you'd love some new perspectives. That gives the other person, again, that shows the other person that you value them, but it also shows a little bit of vulnerability, and people really, really appreciate that. I'm sure that you can relate to authors and speakers and different kinds of experts who share their troubles and their failures as much as they share their successes. The people that always act like they're elite and like stand on a pedestal and feel like and kind of portray this image that they're flawless, you can't connect with a person like that because they're not real. So when you're real and you share your truths, and other people can do the same, it creates a great opportunity for rapport. So that's a great strategy. Try your best to remember details about each person. So things like where they live, the businesses that they're in, or if they have kids, or things that they do outside of business. Maybe you play the same sport as them, or maybe you're into sports. You might like tennis and they like volleyball, but just the fact that they like another sport, you can use that as sort of a mental anchor to remember, hey, this person's an athlete just like me. Again, if you're meeting a lot of people in a short period of time, let's say at a class or a seminar, this is going to be a little bit harder to do. But if you meet somebody individually, like for a coffee, there's an easier chance you're going to remember them. What I like to do is if I'm at an event and I had some really good networking during the day, I might make a few quick notes at a break, just jot down the person's name and a couple of like single words that trigger things that I remember. Like, they're from California, they enjoy tennis, and they're an expert designer, they're great at graphics or whatever. A couple little things, and then those few trigger words will often help you remember exactly who that person was. And then another thing I like to do when appropriate is to send an email or a phone or even a Facebook follow-up saying, hey, it was great to meet you the other day, great chatting with you, let's stay in touch. Those things go a long way. People don't often take time to do that anymore. So when you're the one doing it, and let's say they've met a dozen people at an event and you're the only one of the 12 that does that, you'll stand out. You'll be remembered. And then obviously providing help or a connection is one of the best things you can do. If you meet somebody and they have a desperate need for a problem and you know somebody that can solve that problem, make that connection. What I like to do is I'll send an email to the person that needs help, and I will, in the same subject line, the to line, not the CC, but right in the to section as well of the email, I'll send it to the other person who I believe can help. And then in the subject, it'll say introduction for you or something like that. And I'll say, hey, Joe, Justin here, and I remember, we met the other day, and you told me about this problem you were having. Well, my buddy Sue is really good at this, and Sue, I don't know what your agenda is like, but I know you've got a lot of experience here. I know you love this topic, so I thought it'd be cool for you two to connect. I'm going to leave it with you, but I'm going to suggest, Joe, that you send Sue an email and see if there's a potential there. I'll always kind of give them a next step and let them run with it from there. But people love that kind of leadership. People love when you kind of initiate that first step for them. It's very obvious what the next thing is. And, Joe, it's in Joe's hands now. If he wants to take some action on it, great. And he probably will, because you've kind of set the stage for him there. And I can't tell you how many times that by doing that, I've helped other people create relationships that have lasted for a long time. People that ended up hiring that person over and over again, or they did a business deal together. And they never forget the fact that I connected them. And it gives us something to meet on and maybe go for a coffee or a drink in the future and talk about that. So that's pretty cool. So next, we talked about strategy, and we talked about the mindset of it. Let's actually talk about where to network, because there's some specific things that you can do to put yourself out there. And these may seem obvious, but I thought it'd be kind of cool just to talk about them quickly. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. Where to network. If you're online, forums are probably the best, because you can, and I'm going to say paid forums are better than free, because when you go to a paid forum, everyone's paying to be in there. They're serious. They're serious about business. They obviously know the value of building connections. So, and most paid forums are not all that expensive. They may be $50 a month or something like that. But when you consider the value of making long-term connections with people that have huge networks of their own, just meeting one solid person could pay for an entire year in a paid forum if you make good connections. So you can look around for general or industry specific. I'd suggest industry specific if you're just getting started. Focus on the people that can really help you the most in your business. So if you're a public speaker, join a speakers bureau and see if there's any private forums where people chat, or maybe there's in-person masterminds, which is another one later down on my list here. Facebook groups is another one. I'm also saying here that private is better than public. Most of the Facebook groups I'm a part of are private. They're locked down. People can't just search them and join. You need to be invited, or you have to ask to join, and they may check out who you are before they let you in. Again, higher level of quality. And once you go in there, you can look at the history. That's what I like about Facebook groups, is there's a social aspect, but you can also scroll back in time and look at the conversations that have been happening, as you can with forums. But Facebook is kind of single threaded, so it's a little bit easier to go through quickly. And a lot of the time you go into a Facebook group, post an intro and ask a question, excuse me, And within minutes, you have interaction. So it's like it's networking at hyper speed, which is great if you're in a rush and you want to get this stuff going. Maybe you're really motivated by my presentation right now. Well, you can go find some Facebook groups and do it. Skype rooms is another one. I'll just leave it at that. But there are Skype rooms. If you need more information on that, ask me. Pardon me. Live networking groups, so things like Meetup, Chamber of Commerce, BNI, live events and seminars. I would say that live events and seminars are probably the places where I make my strongest connections. So I can think back to a couple of years ago, I went to an online marketing conference. There were a number of excellent speakers who were just giving different tips and advice. I was listening to them and taking notes, and I implemented the information, and that was awesome. But then after the speakers were done, I walked around and talked to all kinds of other people who were at the same level as me or higher level, and in some cases they were just getting started. So it was a wide mix of people, but I met all kinds of people that I've become friends with, that have become affiliates for me, that I have become affiliates for them, and we've cross-promoted each other. And so it's not just networking, it's actually creating business deals. But these are also the same people that I can hit up in a jam and say, look, I'm stuck here. This piece of software is broken, or I've got this problem over here. Can you give me some tips? And they're often some of the best people I know for helping me get out of a jam because they're very similar to me. So, and then obviously other ones like LinkedIn or students and classes you take, which is kind of like an event or a seminar. So that is sort of a summary on where to network. And move down next here to just talking about some of the motivation of doing this. It's fun. It's rewarding to network. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I can think of a few different times this year already, even in just the past couple of months, where I went and I had an individual lunch meeting or coffee meeting with somebody who originally I was just kind of casually networking with on forums, a couple of private messages, a couple of chats over Facebook and Skype. And then I took the time to reach out to this person or these people, and actually in these few examples, and I said, hey, you know what? We don't live that far apart. Let's go out for lunch. I'd love to buy you lunch. It'd be great to connect. And we did. And, that 1 or 2 hour lunch meeting, was a way deeper connection because you get a chance to sit down and get to know somebody, find all your mutual things in common. And a lot of the times when it's somebody that you've set up a lunch meeting with, you already knew in advance that you were going to probably get along with them. So you walk away from these meetings so invigorated. You have new ideas. You see their perspective on the world that you've probably even maybe come up with some potential joint venture ideas of things that you can do together or people that you can cross-connect with. It's incredible. It's so motivating. And sometimes those meetings, the motivation that you walk away with will last for a few days. And motivation is something that can come and go. So this is another little tool that you can put in your toolbox of motivation, is just doing this and interacting with other people. And it's just kind of cool to get together with somebody and be in a position where you can help them, like I mentioned earlier. So let's go to the next one here, which is leveraging. And when I say leveraging, let's make that a little smaller there. When I say leveraging, I'm talking about what benefits are you going to get from networking. Obviously, you're going to network to meet people, and there's a sort of a built-in benefit of interacting with other people is good for you. It's healthy for your mind and your soul and all that kind of stuff. We need to build relationships with other human beings as just part of our livelihood, but you're going to get something from it as well from a business perspective. The two main things are getting help and getting feedback. So, and when I say help, it could be anything, but when I talk about asking for help, you need to be as honest and upfront as possible as to why you're asking for help, how to do it, and so on. So the main thing here is to be genuine. If you need help because you just busted your ass building a product for a month or 2 months and you have everything ready to go, but you have no way of figuring out how to get affiliates, then reach out to people you know and say, look, I've worked so hard on this. I could really use some help. I don't know how to do this affiliate game. Can somebody please offer me a couple of tips? How can I get affiliates to promote this offer for me? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. I'd love to be able to return the favor any way I possibly can. Just show as much willingness to help and gratitude for any help that people are willing to do. And when I see people doing that, I do my best to help them. And I've seen it happen over and over and over again. People that approach it this way get the help that they request. People love helping others. And if you come from a place of humility and you're humble like that, people are more likely to help for you. So be genuine and tell people why you need help. And then from a feedback perspective, Imagine how cool it would be to run a new idea that you have, and before you invest thousands of dollars or weeks of your time, just say, go to your network and say, hey, look, here's an idea I'm thinking of working on. And I know you're an experienced business person. I know you're really busy, but if you have 5 minutes, I'd love to just explain this to you and get your feedback. Is this something that you consider a good idea? And run it by them. Or maybe you've already put something together. Maybe you've written the draft or an outline of a book that you want to write. It's 3 or 4 pages long, and if somebody can read that and feel inspired, then you know you're going to get the feedback that you need to keep going. But somebody else might also read that and say, well, this is not really doing much for me. And you can get really honest feedback from your network. In fact, the feedback you get from people in your business network will often be more valuable than your personal network, because the people in your family and your friends don't necessarily want to hurt your feelings. And so they might sugarcoat it a little bit. Whereas people in your business network will probably be a little bit more realistic and in some cases harsh. I can say that for myself. I'm trying to be like this in all cases, whether you're in my family or my friends or somebody I do business with. I try to share my absolute honest opinion no matter what, but I can say with a great degree of honesty here that it's just naturally easier for me when I don't know the person intimately. If I just know you from business, I'm going to give you the straight goods. Whereas if I've known you for 15 years, we're good friends, I'm going to be like, oh, this might be a little painful to tell them that this sucks. How do I do this? And of course, we all try to do it. So you're going to get better advice genuinely from people in your business network. So that's leveraging. That's what you can get from networking. How cool is that? Next one over here is just a networking fundamental, is the whole idea of standing out. So this is how to get people to remember you, is basically what I'm saying here. Because think about it. How many people do you meet when you go to an event, or if you're in the mode of networking? I know that networking is just part of what I do on a daily and weekly basis. I'm always reaching out to new people and having new conversations. A day or at least a week doesn't go by where I don't meet at least a handful of new people and have new conversations. And unless those conversations were very insightful, it's easy to forget those people. So how do you stand out? One thing that I do, this first one, is creating networking hubs. So what I mean by that is you create a place where more than one person can network. So a strategy that's worked well for me is Skype rooms. I've created a couple of Skype rooms where I was the one who took the time to put it together, and I went out and reached out to 10, 12, 20 people, whatever it was, and told them, look, the purpose of this room is I want to connect a number of us together that are very serious about doing business, and we all, in my opinion, do business in a similar kind of way. I think it'd be great if all of us connected here, and people love it. They go in there, and it's not like we spend a ton of time in there. It might be a few minutes here and there every week, but people really value the fact that the group exists, and they appreciate me either directly or subconsciously as being the one that took the time to create a place for this networking to happen. So you can do that. You can do that by creating a live event, by creating a Facebook group, by running a Google Hangout and just inviting 8 people to merge minds together and get it going. Maybe you create an in-person mastermind. Get 10 people together who all have common goals and say, look, we're all going to meet at this coffee shop or this hotel next Wednesday. I'll take care of all the details. Just make sure you show up. If you create that hub, you automatically create more opportunities to stand out, and people will remember that. Trust me, they will. And then have something that's unique to you. I can think of people that I know that that wear a certain type of sunglass or to every event, or a certain type of shirt, or they're always wearing a certain hat. And you don't forget them for that. It's just a little trick, but it goes a long way. I know that people always know me because of either my sales videos or just silly, stupid videos that I've made. People know me because my videos. I've made thousands of them, and I'll meet people for the first time and they already feel like they know me because they've seen my videos. So that's kind of something that works out for me. I also remember people with funny nicknames. If they have something really hilarious that I haven't heard before, and tend to remember them a little bit more. So that kind of stuff works as well. And then the last one here is planning. And I kind of debated whether to even put this in here, but let's just quickly mention it. Planning is something that you can't necessarily plan for all of the networking you're going to do, because sometimes you'll just bump into someone and it turns into a networking opportunity. But when I say planning, make time to actually connect with people. So if you're not in a forum or a Facebook group, then go back over to that first step that I gave you, or that earlier step that I gave you, to join one of those, and then put some time in your calendar, either daily or maybe like every Tuesday morning and Thursday afternoon. I'm going to spend half an hour reaching out to some new people. I'm going to ask a question, or somebody's asking for advice. I'm going to give them my advice or point them in the direction of someone I know that can answer their question, and just make a little bit of time in my calendar to do these kind of things. If I have a really cool insight that I just discovered, right? If maybe I just read a really awesome book and I walked away with this amazing insight, and I'm going to be using it in my business tomorrow, then before you do it, say, look, tomorrow I'm doing so-and-so, and I got this idea from this book over here. So here's a great lesson for you guys. A, here's what I'm doing. B, go read this book and see if it gives you the same kind of insight it gave me. You could post that in one of those forums. You could post it in a Facebook group. You could call someone up on Skype, a good friend that you've been networking with, and say, check this out. I've got this awesome strategy. 5 minutes. I just want to share it with you. Maybe it'll inspire your day. This stuff is really powerful. And it goes back to that other point I said about motivation. It's very motivating to do a lot of this stuff. And another thing you can do is just kind of keep an eye out, always be aware, have your radar up for opportunities to help other people in your network. It's so rewarding when, let's say you're in a forum and you're looking around, you saw somebody was struggling with who knows what it was. Maybe it was their self-confidence, or maybe they had an upcoming presentation, they were freaking out. And then you filed it, and then later on you remembered, oh, so-and-so can help them with that. And you call so-and-so, and that person says, hey, you know what, tell your friend to give me a call. I can, in 10 minutes, I can resolve this problem for them. And you go and do that. And imagine how the person on the receiving end of that would feel, that they just posted a simple question in a forum. A bunch of people gave them, some friendly advice, and that's awesome. But you went above and beyond. You went and called a friend, and that friend offered advice that they'd normally charge for, and they got it for free. And their lives have been improved, and this problem has been solved because you took the initiative to do that. That's pretty empowering stuff, not only for yourself, but for everybody around you. So that is my networking fundamentals talk in a nutshell. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss any here. And I did not. So I hope that helps you. And again, everybody's going to have their own networking strategies, going to have things that work differently for you. I hope that you can take one or two or a handful of these and implement them into your own life. I can say without a doubt that if you took away all my money, all my resources, even my laptop, that I could very quickly build back my business and have my income thriving again in a very short period of time. And there's just a few things that I've done well over the past few years that would allow me to do that. And my current network is definitely one of them. So make it a priority. If you have any questions at all, let me know. Hope this helps you. We'll talk to you soon.